Alright, welcome to a Hickory Hack Hickory Golf Club restoration video. Today I'm going to show you how to remove the hosel pin on a hickory shafted golf club. Most of the time you're going to see clubs where the hosel pin's detectable, and you'll see the little seam like you see in these photos. But sometimes you'll come across clubs where the hosel area is rusted or the pin itself is not detectable, and I'll give you some tips on what to do in those situations as well. So the tools we'll be using for this project are a hammer, a 1/8 pin punch, a 1/16 pin punch, a whipping stand or something to elevate the club, and then a piece of a yoga mat or anti-fatigue mat that I'll be able to drive the pin into, and then a wooden mallet to remove the head from the shaft altogether. So the first step is locating the pin. This head had a little bit of rust on it, and I used 000 steel wool here on both sides of where I think the pin is on the hosel to see if I can find the seam. Usually that's all it takes, but sometimes you'll get a stubborn pin that just doesn't want to reveal itself. And in those instances, I'll use a jeweler's loupe or a magnifying glass to take a closer look at the hosel in different light. So I'll go outside, use natural light, come back under the fluorescent light, just moving the hosel around in different ways to see if that reveals the seam. Or I just have to set it down for a day, come back the next day, and with fresh eyes hope that I can find it. So in this instance, I found the pin on the side of the hosel that I prefer to work on, which is face down. That braces the club against the mat better when I hammer into it, and it's an easier angle to go at the hosel pin. I usually like to do 1 or 2 small taps first to get it started, and this one was really easy, so you can already see that the pin's starting to come out. And once I've got that spot where I know that I'm on the pin and it's starting to move, I'll drive it harder. Once the pin's moving, you do want to be careful with the 1/8 pin punch. You can see here I've already got half of it pushed through here. This is where I'll want to switch to the 1/16 punch, which won't risk damaging the hosel hole by forcing the pin punch into it further than it should go. And there's plenty of clearance for the 1/16 to just drive that remaining bit of pin through. This is where the whipping stand comes in handy. You do a little bit of a balancing act here, and if you're lucky, you can drive it out to the point where you could actually use that pin again. But this one came out a little crooked, so I threw it away. So now that the pin is out, you can give the club a little bit of wiggle here to see how much play there is. So you might be able to pull that off without any extra force, but most of the time you're going to need something. I use a wooden mallet here. Just tap it a few times and the head usually comes right off. Every once in a while you're going to come across a club that's already been reset with epoxy or was just done really well in the beginning, and it will not come off with a few taps of the mallet. In those instances, I'll use a little bit of heat from a heat gun to heat up the hosel just enough so that it either breaks the bond with the epoxy or loosens up whatever the tightness is that's keeping that head on the shaft. Now this is a delicate process. You don't want to do it too long, and you don't want to put the heat directly over the wood of the hosel on the shaft because you'll char it. So you just want to take your time, maybe 10-15 seconds, rotating the club around through the heat, and then stopping and trying to tap it off with the mallet. If it still doesn't come off, then I repeat the process again, another 10-15 seconds under the heat. And it may take 3 or 4 cycles of that, but eventually it'll come off. And I haven't met one yet that I haven't been able to loosen with heat. So now that the head's removed from the shaft, we can do a proper restoration or preservation to this head, and I'll show you how to do that in Hickory Hack number 2. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe.